Convicted killer United States Marine Joseph Scott Pemberton is now a free man after 6 years in detention at a special facility inside military headquarters. He was deported from the Philippines Sunday morning, September 13. Pemberton is convicted of killing Filipina transgender woman Jennifer Laude in a motel in the red light district north of Manila in 2014. Before leaving the country, he sends the Laude family his most sincere sympathy for the pain he caused and wishes he had the words to express the depth of his sorrow and regret. Pemberton is now blacklisted in the Philippines due to his conviction for homicide. He may apply to have the blacklist lifted after 10 years. The Laude family says President Rodrigo Duterte broke his pledge to the family when he granted Pemberton pardon. Laude's mother, Julita Cabillan, says he personally gave us financial help before because he said he was happy that we fought for this case, and he said that as long as he was president, Pemberton would never be free. But presidential spokesman Harry Roque, who was the Laude family's lawyer for the case, denies this.
Ang alam ko po, walang ganyang promise ang presidente. Ang pangako po ni presidente, bibigyan ng katarungan ng pagkamatay ni Jennifer Laude at nakulong naman po si Pemberton ng halos 6 na taon.
The Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs says it will no longer request to take custody of U.S. Marine murder suspect Joseph Scott Pemberton. Might as well, says a political science expert, because the United States will not budge when it comes to protecting its own servicemen. Henny Espinosa reports.
The U.S. State Department has rejected calls for U.S. Marine suspect Joseph Scott Pemberton to be turned over to Philippine custody in accordance with the Visiting Forces Agreement, or the VFA. Political science professor Jay Gonzalez says the U.S. has similar military agreements with about 100 countries all over the world, and the U.S. almost always gets what it wants.
VFAs are usually one-sided towards the more powerful country, or what we call the more powerful international actor. And in this case, that is the United States. All countries who have signed a status of forces agreement with the United States, all these 100 countries, have to bite that same bullet.
Gonzalez says the U.S. is only trying to protect its own from local laws that may not reflect what is practiced in the U.S.
It is worried about parity between local laws, rights, and privileges given to those who are accused, right? Because in the United States, we have seen it. You are innocent until proven guilty. You have many rights and privileges.
The U.S. State Department assures the Philippines that if Pemberton is found guilty and convicted, he will definitely serve time in the Philippines. But so far, no American soldier has ever served a full sentence in the Philippines.
There's always been ways around pardons, exceptions, forgiveness, based on bilateral relations, smooth relationships that have allowed for the non-fulfillment of full terms.
Gonzalez says the VFA has some provisions that are vague and prone to different interpretations, and therefore needs amendment, something that a number of lawmakers are calling for. On the part of Philippine Justice Secretary Laila de Lima, the Philippines can still push for its custody claim, considering that the Pemberton case is extraordinary and that the rest of the world is watching whether justice will really be granted in this controversial case. Henny Espinosa, ABS-CBN News.
A United States Marine was convicted on Tuesday in the Philippines of killing Jennifer Laude after he discovered she was a transgender woman in a hotel while he was on a break in the military. Lance Corporal Joseph Scott Pemberton was convicted of homicide by strangling Laude and then dunking her head into a toilet bowl in the hotel after meeting at a disco in October 2014. The 20-year-old was charged with murder, but the court convicted him of homicide, sentencing him to 6 to 12 years in prison. The court also ordered Pemberton to pay Laude's family $98,000 in damages. Dozens of protesters gathered near the court ahead of the verdict.
Stop being
Pemberton testified that he choked Laude during a fight that erupted when he realized she was a transgender woman, but he claims she was still alive when he left the hotel room.
It's my decision to pardon. Correct me if I'm wrong, but ito ang tingin ko sa kaso. You have not treated Pemberton fairly. So, i-release ko. I am not favoring anybody. Neither Pemberton nor the family. Pero, alam mo, itong gobyerno, may konting dapa. Kasi sa good behavior, kailan i-compute mo sa lahat, detained siya for the crime, facing trial, and prison siya for the crime.
Moving on to other news based on nothing but conjectures and speculations. This is how the lawyer of U.S. Marine murder suspect Joseph Scott Pemberton described his client's case. He says Pemberton's murder charges should be dismissed. We find out the latest on this controversial case from this report by Eugene Adalia.
State prosecutors in Olongapo City want the judge handling murder charges against U.S. Marine Joseph Scott Pemberton out of the case. The prosecutors see a possible conflict of interest, noting that Judge Rolin Gines Habalde and one of Pemberton's lawyers, Rowena Garcia Flores, were classmates in law school. A motion for inhibition will be filed not later than January 5th. The camp of the victim, Jennifer Laude, supports this move, although they insist their case against Pemberton is strong.
Naniniwala po kami na overwhelming ang ebidensya laban kay Pemberton na kahit sino pang judge yan, kahit ano pang bias niya, naniniwala po kaming napakalakas ng aming ebidensya.
Meanwhile, 3 petitions were filed before the court. Pemberton's camp called for a suspension of proceedings pending the resolution of a petition with the Justice Department on the finding of probable cause for murder. Pemberton's lawyers insist their client should only be tried for homicide, but both private and public prosecutors oppose the petition to suspend.
Yung pag-file po ng petition for review sa Department of Justice ay hindi basehan para masuspend ng proceedings, lalong-lalo na sa kasong ganito na sang-ayon sa BFA, kinakailangan matapos sa 1 taon lamang. No?
Private prosecutors, on the other hand, filed 2 petitions. First, to transfer Pemberton to a regular jail in Olongapo. They insist Pemberton should be under Philippine custody and that he should not be accorded special treatment.
Walang dahilan para magkaroon ng special treatment si Pemberton na makulong sa isang air-condition na container sa Camp Aguinaldo. No? Kung mga senador nga ay nakukulong sa walang air-condition na Camp Crame, dapat si Pemberton ganun din ang mangyari.
The second petition is for full media coverage of the trial. Laude lawyers explain all Filipinos should be allowed to witness the trial because the matter extends beyond the murder of Jennifer Laude.
Yung pampublikong sambayan ng Pilipino po ay meron ding interest, no? Dahil nakikita natin dito sa kasong ito kung paano nagkakaroon ng implementasyon ang BFA.
Public prosecutors, however, do not support the 2 petitions filed by their private counterparts. Eugene Adalia, ABS-CBN News.
Kayo nanonood ng The Source dito sa CNN Philippines taong 2014 nagulantang ang taong bayan sa pagpaslang sa Filipina transgender na si Jennifer Laude. Pangunahing suspect sa krimen si U.S. Private First Class Joseph Scott Pemberton. Matatanda ang natagpuan ng bangkay ni Laude sa isang motel sa Olongapo kung saan nakita ang kanyang ulong nakasubsob sa toilet bowl. Maraming tumutok sa kontrobersyal na kaso at kung makakamit nga ba ng pamilya Laude ang hustisya. Sa dokumentaryong Call Her Ganda, binalikan ang mahahalagang pangyayari sa kaso at sino nga ba si Ganda sa mata ng kanyang pamilya, media at ng bansa. Kasama natin ngayon dito sa studio, i-Englishin ko to kasi hindi po siya marunong Filipino, sadly. He's the director of the documentary Call Her Ganda, si PJ Naval at ang abogado, ito magaling magtagalog, ng pamilya ni Jennifer Laude na si Attorney Virgie Suarez. Director, good morning to you. Attorney,
Good morning, magandang
welcome.
umaga.
Magandang umaga sa inyo. You're welcome. Glad to have you. You are Filipino though, but
I am,
did you
yeah.
grow up in Texas?
In the United States, yeah.
In the United
I grew up in
States.
California.
I see. Okay, so we start with this. Congratulations.
Okay. Thank you so
You
much.
won awards at the Toronto Film Festival, tsaka sa Los Angeles.
And Inside Out, yeah. Inside Out Toronto, we won Best Documentary Audience Award. And then, Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival.
Grand Jury Award.
Grand Jury Award for Outstanding Documentary.
Oh, and you're a finalist at the Tribeca Film Festival as well,
yeah,
right?
Competition there as well.
So congratulations. This obviously puts forward something an attorney, the mom, and other people they've been monitoring this case of the transgender woman Jennifer Laude. First, kay Direk na muna. Direk,
Sure.
why this? Why the focus on Jennifer Laude? What started all this for you?
Yeah, I came here to the Philippines for, I would say, the first time in terms of coming to visit for my own reasons, to screen some of my previous work. And when I showed up, the crime had just been committed. It is nearby. And I thought immediately, I was really moved to see people like Virgie out on the street who are, trying to draw attention to what had happened. And I thought it was very emblematic of what I saw happening here in the Philippines.
But the story obviously revolves around Jennifer Laude and 3 other women.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Attorney, isa ka dun eh.
Oo nga eh,
Sa
isa ako
women.
dun.
So si Jennifer, tanggalin na natin yung mami niya.
Yes.
Ikaw, na ipinaglalaban na to, and there's a journalist as well.
Yes, si Meredith.
Iyon.
Meredith Adusan.
Ikaw na magkwento sa amin, paano umikot yung storya sa inyong tatlo and Jennifer Laude?
Dapat yata si PJ. Kaya, dahil pare-pareho naman kami, ang lahat, no? Si Meredith, ako, saka si Nanay, lahat pare-pareho kaming gusto namin magkaroon ng hustisya yung kamatayan ni Jennifer Laude. At gusto na rin namin magkaroon ng hustisya ito sa mata ng tao. Of course, the family, di ba? Ang gusto niya na hustisya, pero gusto rin natin ang hustisya sa mata ng mamamayan. At yon ay mangyayari lamang kapag ito ay nalaman ng publiko. Kaya nga, magandang nandiyan isang journalist covering this. Kaya din yun yung dahilan kung bakit kailangan kong laging magsalita sa labas, no? Pagkatapos ng trial.
Dinudumog kayo ng media, no?
Yes, no? Kailangan malaman ng media kung ano ang nangyayari sa loob ng korte. Kasi, di ba, at that time, ang media ay hindi pinayagan na makapasok sa loob ng korte. Kaya din, I took upon myself yung obligasyon na bukod sa pagiging lawyer, ay yung magsalita sa mamamayan para malaman kung ano nangyayari.
And so far, how has it been in terms of, I understand that the mom, let's put this first into context. The reason it's called Call Her Ganda is because, am I correct, the mom calls Jennifer Laude Ganda. Tama ba?
Correct.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was her nickname.
That was her nickname to
Yeah.
the mom. So how that title came about because of that?
Yeah.
Who thought of it?
I guess I did. For a while, the film was just called Untitled Jennifer Laude Documentary. And we were making this film and not being very public about it just because the case was ongoing and we didn't want to, impose on the storyline at all.
Right. How difficult was it to do this documentary?
I mean, for me, it was definitely challenging. Living in the United States and choosing to make a documentary in the Philippines, there's some logistics there in terms of just traveling, obviously the language, but it was something that was near to my heart, and I thought would make that the world really needed to hear more about the story.
Attorney, how true is the documentary? Ano yung realistic? Ano yung mga kulang na sanang nagawa pa?
Very realistic kasi the documentary talagang real yung pagkuha nila. Wala namang mga
Walang staged.
Oo, walang ganon walang stage, no? I mean, people are not acting. PJ, or I mean the people behind the film, simply documented, I mean, everything that has happened about this case, everything about the family. It's not even about the case. It's about Jennifer. It's about the mother. Kasi hindi mo naman po pwedeng yung buong kaso because it's pending, diba? And besides, bahala na yung Supreme Court, bahala na ang korte sa kaso. But then, yung, alam mo yun, yung buhay ni Jennifer, yung pakiramdam ng isang nanay, yung paano tinitingnan ito ng mamamayan dahil ang pumatay ay isang sundalong Amerikano, paano ang epekto nito sa relasyon ng Pilipinas at ng Amerika. Yung lahat ng yun, no?
Na-cover yan.
Ay kasama. Yes, I am proud of this film kasi lahat ng yun ay na-cover.
Yeah. What are you most proud of the film after completing it, after completing the documentary?
I think I'm most proud that when people see the film, they're surprised by it in terms of how much they relate to the family, how much they relate to the story. Because clearly this was a story that was in the media, and I think people didn't recognize how it would affect them personally.
And malaking epekto, parang ganun lumalabas, sinasabi ni Direk, malaking epekto dun sa mga makakapanood nito.
Oo, kasi ako, nung nanood ako, una kong pinanood to, kasama ko yung anak ko. Iba yung pakiramdam niya at yung sinabi niya after watching it.
What did you say?
Yung marami siyang natutunan, sabi niya, marami akong natutunan, Ma, at and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of all those people behind this this film. Kaya natuwa ako. I hope and I'm sure people will also have the same feelings and opinion after watching the film.
What is really because I understand from, well, looking into what you guys did after you went to New York for the Tribeca Film Festival, and you had like some sort of brainstorming, I believe, after the movie. So you gathered some people, and is it via Skype? You had people from, is it Washington or Los Angeles? It's as if you didn't want to stop just by airing this documentary.
Yeah, I think, as filmmakers, we make these films, and then part of that is letting the film be its own thing and kind of go out into the world, and hopefully it can have some kind of change, right? Or impact culture and society and maybe even political change. So we held what's called a brain trust.
Yeah, that's what you call it.
Yeah, which is in a lot of ways kind of like a collective brainstorming.
Yeah.
So yeah, we brought together community leaders, organizers, journalists, you name it. And they had watched the film, and we put them in the same room and said, okay, how can this film actually, serve the community somehow?
In fact, I saw post-its of suggestions from different people. What is really the takeaway? Ano yung gusto nyo, attorney, ikaw, paglabas ng tao sa sinehan, ano yung mensahe na you're hoping ma-come across or ma-put through sa mga manonood?
Na kahit ang kalaban mo ay isang superpower, I mean, US is a superpower, kahit ang kalaban mo ay ang Amerika, kakayanin ng lumaban ng Pilipinas, kakayanin lumaban ng ordinaryong mamamayan. Basta lang, kailangan yung sama-samang tulong, sama-samang lakas ng mamamayan. At hindi ito yung hindi na itago yung kaso, hindi na itago yung isang karumal-dumal na ginawa ng sundalong Amerikano dahil nandyan yung mamamayan na nagbantay, nandyan yung media na nagbantay. Kaya kaya ng Pilipino, kaya ng Pilipinas.
What about you, Direk?
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, a mother lost her child, right? And I think regardless...
Isn't that really the story?
That's really the story. And regardless if you're trans, regardless if you're Filipino, regardless if you're American, I think no one should have to experience that.
Yeah, I think that is the worst thing. I mean, that's what they say for any parent, to have to lose a child. And I guess the second, I don't know if you would agree with me, is that how she died.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And and for me, making this film was, again, I think people are very familiar with some of the details, but I was hoping to give an inside look of what's happening behind what you see in the media.
I have to agree with you there because, di ba, attorney, minsan ang tao talaga, alam lang yung very broad understanding, and this gives us a clearer picture of what happened. But what about biases here? on the story. On the other side, how is that taken into account, attorney? Paano yun? Ikaw, abogado ka.
Baka bias nga sa akin.
Sigurado.
Siyempre, ako yung abogado ko ng
sige, si Direk ang tanungin natin.
Yeah, for
Let's
me,
talk about that.
Yeah, for me, the story is not whether or not Pemberton is guilty. I mean, I think it's clear. I think there's evidence. I think even in his surprise testimony, there was admission of guilt there, right? So for me, the story is whether or not these women will seek some kind of justice, right? So for me, making the film was really about following their experiences.
Right. Okay. Attorney, siguro it's also good to get an update on the case. So for those who may want to find out what's next. Hindi ba meron dapat, there was supposed to be like damages of, I think, 4.2 million.
Yes. Hanggang sa ngayon, ang kaso ay nakapinbin, syempre, sa Supreme Court. Yung natalo na rin naman sila sa Court of Appeals. At palagay ko, yung findings kasi ng facts ng Court of Appeals, that's always final. At kaya hindi na yun mababago pagdating sa Supreme Court. Hinintay na lang natin yung paglabas ng decision. Yes, nadagdagan pa nga yung award pagdating sa Court of Appeals. Alam mo, mayroong isang bagay kasi dito sa may kaso na hindi ko malimutan, na that's hanggang ngayon. Nung pinresent ko si nanay during the trial, yun, kaya when PJ said, it's really all about a mother and daughter relationship. Kasi nung tinanong ko si nanay, magkano mo, nanay, kung babayaran ka ng pera, magkano mo gustong yung kapantay ng lahat ng danyos? Alam mo, sabi niya, walang perang sasapat, walang halagang katumbas. Sabi ko, kasi habang buhay, hindi na kumpleto ang buhay ko dahil may isang parte sa buhay ko na nawala. And then, nung sinanong ko ulit, magkano, nay? Tumingin siya sa defense counsel at ang sinabi niya, ikaw, attorney, pag pinatay ang anak mo, magkano mo gusto?
Yun talagang sinabi niya. Nanay.
Yes.
Nanay Julita, no?
Si Nanay Julita. And that scene, it was a moment that kept the entire court in silence. Even the defense counsel were not even able to cross-examine Nanay. And everyone was crying after that presentation.
I can imagine that.
Yeah. All throughout when we're doing this and when I was handling this case.
Ganun, paano mo naman i-cross-examine?
Diba? Kasi lahat ng itong mga defense counsel, sila rin ay may mga
Yeah, and Direk said it very right. And it really, the focus is the mom losing a child. And it's really getting to know, Direk, an attorney, who Jennifer Laude is and who the mom is. And, I guess a mom and daughter relationship.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about the screen. You premiered, it premiered at the Tribeca, which I know is a big thing, so congratulations as well. About here in the Philippines?
So it'll be screening this Saturday at 3:30 as part of Cinemalaya, and that'll be our home premiere. Yeah.
Well, again, thank you for joining us. Welcome back.
Thank you,
Philippines Direct Attorney. Maraming salamat po sa inyo.
The prosecution expects more details surrounding the death of transgender Jennifer Laude will be disclosed as the hearing on the case continues. Mon Hokson tells us why.
The trial of the murder case against U.S. Marine Lance Corporal Joseph Scott Pemberton on the death of transgender Jeffrey alias Jennifer Laude continues. Pemberton arrived in the said hearing earlier today. Dr. Reynaldo Dave, the medical examiner who conducted the autopsy of the body of Jennifer, took the witness stand. According to the statement of Dr. Reynaldo, Laude sustained cuts, scratches, and swelling on the head. It was also possible that Jennifer was choked very tightly based on the neck wounds and swelling of the throat. The prosecution presented 64 pictures taken of the different parts of the body of Jennifer, which were confirmed by Dr. Reynaldo as parts of the autopsy report he made on the body of Jennifer or Jeffrey Laude. Dr. Dave also said that Jennifer was physically hurt and drowned until she died on October 11, 2014. Meanwhile, 2 of the 4 U.S. Marines who were with Pemberton are expected to take the witness stand tomorrow. These are Lance Corporal Jairn Rose and Corporal Christopher Miller. Lance Corporal Bennett Eric Dahl and Corporal Daniel Fabian Polido will take the witness stand. These 3 U.S. Marines disembarked the ship with Pemberton when they were given liberty time on the night of October 11, 2014. Meanwhile, 1 U.S. Marine, Lance Corporal Jairn Rose, accosted Lance Corporal Joseph Scott Pemberton for returning late to the ship. Mon Hokson reporting for Y News.
Made the photo line up. Within the week, we are to file our petition before the Supreme Court regarding the media coverage and the transfer of custody. Kasi may nakasalang ang security, no? Ang protection ng Filipino citizen, and yet our government continue to allow this balikatan exercises. Nandito na nga, may kaso nga, di ba? Tapos, eto na naman, sangrekwang sundalong Amerikano ang darating dito.
Humarap sa korte kanina sa Olongapo ang US Marine na akusado sa pagpatay sa transgender na si Jennifer Laude. Kinuna ng mugshots at fingerprints si Joseph Scott Pemberton. Maigpit ang seguridad sa Olongapo City Hall of Justice. Kaya pagdating sa compound ng convoy ng US Marine na si Joseph Scott Pemberton, wala nang nakalapit. Pati media, pinagbawalan. Nilagyan ng mga harang ang paakyat sa second floor kung saan naroon ang sala ni Judge Rolin Hines Habalde.
Importante muna, nahuli na si Pemberton at ngayon siya ay nasa ilalim na ng jurisdiksyon ng hukuman.
Habang kinuna ng mugshot at fingerprint si Pemberton, nakapaligid sa kanya ang may 10 NCIS na nakasuot ng puting polo.
Nakaposas po si Pemberton sa loob ng korte at tahimik lang po siyang nakaupo.
Nakita ko siya pero nasa likod lang kasi kami. Tapos nang kukunan na siya namin ng pictures, kinonface kit yung camera namin. Pero at least nakita ko na siya ng personal na andito pa siya.
Hindi maipaliwanag ni Marilu ang kanyang naramdaman nang makita si Pemberton, ang akusado sa pagpatay sa kanyang kapatid na si Jennifer Laude.
Mixed emotion, natatakot, nagagalit na kung pwedeng lapitan ko siya, tanungin kung pwedeng iuntog ko siya sa pader, kaya lang hindi ko naman kaya gawin kasi napakadaming NCIS na nakabody sa kanya.
Bago mag alas 10 ng umaga ay inilabas na si Pemberton. Kung gaano siya kabilis ipinasok sa compound, ganun ding kabilis siyang inilabas para dalhin muli sa Camp Aguinaldo.
The accused Joseph Scott Pemberton be kept as detention prisoner at the Mutual Defense Board Security Engagement Board Facility, Jusmag Compound, Camp Aguinaldo, Quezon City.
Pasado 1:00 ng hapon nang maibalik sa kanyang detention facility sa Camp Aguinaldo si Pemberton. Wala pang itinakdang araw ang korte para sa arraignment ni Pemberton. Diringgin muna kasi ng korte ang mosyong inihain ni Pemberton na itigil o suspindihin ang mga proceedings laban sa kanya. Maghahain naman ang kampo ng mga Laude ng mosyon para mailipat si Pemberton sa ordinaryong kulungan sa Olongapo.